Hi, Eric Gibaud, ericgibaud.com, and today we're going to speak about something really serious. This YouTuber is a full danger for your camera. Well, we're going to speak about camera setting. So let's start. Yeah, I can imagine some people saying, oh, this title is a clickbait, but no, it is not. What I'm going to explain, you will see why it is not. I see that many people, when they buy a new camera, whether it's secondhand or new, doesn't matter, but with all the setting, config is reset to 0 as it came out of the fabric. Okay, the first thing they ask is, how do I change settings? What is the best settings for that? What is the best for this? And they rush on Facebook groups, photography groups, or they go on YouTube and look for recommended settings. That's nonsense. Why? Because you don't know the camera. You should first read the manual, the instruction manual, know the camera, understand how it works and what it is for. Rushing, changing things is the best way to misset your camera, and this way you don't get the result you could get. All the cameras, when they come out of the box, they will cover from 80 to 99 or even 100% of your needs. For people who are really specialized in something, they need some fine-tuning, maybe the 80% they will be covered. And for people who are beginners, no experience, 100% is already covered. And when you start learning, maybe 99%, 80%, 90%, it depends, okay? But at the beginning, don't touch anything. Why? Because people are misled by the thinking of that there are some universal setups. What are your settings for wedding? What are your settings for my kid playing football? What are the settings for sunset? There are no universal settings. What works for that YouTuber, any YouTuber, or for myself, doesn't work for you. And what works for you maybe doesn't work for me. So first, you need to know the camera, read the instruction manual, and understand what things are for, and then you will be able to fine-tune. But still, there are a few things you can change from day one. I'm going to tell what they are, and I will also tell you what you should not change from day one. And then we will see the evolution of your settings with time, what you could change later, okay? But from day one, don't start thinking you have to change everything, okay? Well, the first things you can change, yes, are related to formats, to also safety, to information you need while making the picture. Okay, so the first thing I think it's really important to change is the possibility to make pictures without any memory card. By default, it works like this. So people at the technical center, they may fine-tune your camera or check the things without any memory card, or in a shop, if it's a demo camera, they can actually activate the shutter without having any memory card. So you should not allow this, because it's your son's birthday, you make 10 minutes of pictures and then you look at them and there are no pictures because there was no memory card, you forgot to put it. So deactivate this possibility. That's the first thing to do. Second, obviously you need to decide if you want to do RAW plus JPEG, just JPEG. So obviously you need to decide that from the first second, I would say. Same thing with video format. Do you want 4K, Full HD, how many pictures per second, frame per second, 25, 30, depends where you are, 60, it doesn't matter. You have to pick this right now if you're going to do some video logically. And maybe you come from another camera brand, another same camera, same brand, but different camera, and you have some settings you want to have the same. So like buttons, when I used to have Canon 5D Mark II, the aperture was on the back wheel and the shutter speed was on the front. And after I got more cameras, it was the other way around. So since then, I always change that from the first second. I swap buttons to have my aperture on the back wheel and the speed on the front wheel. Okay, so it's just a matter of taste. But if you're used to that, yeah, change that so you don't make any mistake. You have it this way. Same thing if you use the back focus button. Logically, instead of pressing the shutter halfway, you prefer to use your thumb on the back. Well, obviously, if you come from another camera that is this way, you like it, change it also. Then you need to have some data information while shooting, like highlights warning. That's good to activate them. but we'll see that when they come just straight out of the camera, they're not really informative. You think they're okay, but they're not really okay. But still, right now you can activate them. Same thing with the histogram, maybe a grid, composition grid, also you activate that. But so far this is more or less what you can change, and don't touch anything else yet, okay? The first thing many people start changing is the autofocus. Why? Because they have not tested, they have not tried, and very often the way you get your camera, the autofocus is already okay. So I don't speak about peaking, continuous or single. I speak about more advanced, not even just touching if it's face detection, dog detection, plane detection, train detection, or any new detection you have. But some people get into the fine tuning, like the speed of the autofocus, the reactivity, all this. No, don't touch that if you have not done some serious tests, because maybe it works already. So if you start changing things, then the old settings are going wrong and then it doesn't work at all. The big problem with autofocus is marketing. People think that if you have a high burst rate, when you make pictures, high frame rate, and fast autofocus, you are definitely sure to get a great picture. They go, oh yeah, all great, what picture would I get? And then they realize that many of these pictures are not okay. Why? Because they forgot one thing, that if it was absolutely needed to have this technology, how could it be possible that 10, 20 years ago, some people would make plane pictures, bird pictures, action pictures without this technology? Why? Because they knew how to make pictures. They knew how to predict where the subject will be. They knew how to follow the subject. They knew all this. They had the techniques, okay? So if you don't have these techniques, you only rely on the technology. And that means that the technology is not perfect. Yes, it is a lot better than 10 years ago. It detects a lot better many things. It goes a lot better than many years ago, but it's still not perfect. So you need to know, you need to have this knowledge, these techniques to train, because then when you actually match the technology with your knowledge, then any autofocus will work fine. So when I see some people say, no, I changed cameras because autofocus is missing so many shots. No, it's not. You are. Okay, I'm sorry to tell you are. Why? Because you rely only on technology and you don't predict where the subject is going to be. You don't predict many things, and then it fails. Okay, the camera should decide for you. No, it can help, but it's just a help. It's not who is the leader on the camera. Okay, so I advise you always train first with one autofocus point. Learn how to follow, learn how to do things, learn how to predict where your subject is going to be. Because then when you have these techniques, when you're going to get it along technology, then you can actually fine-tune the settings of your camera, and then you will get brilliant result with almost any camera. Obviously, if it's a really basic camera, you don't have all this technology and you have to rely more on your techniques. And if you have a more advanced camera, you can rely more on technology, but still you need to have this knowledge. So before fine-tuning everything, touching everything, train, learn, understand why this and why that. That's really the key to success with the autofocus. So you've been testing, and now you know some things could be better. What does it mean testing? Not a couple of hours, maybe a couple of days, maybe a couple of months, maybe a year, maybe 2 weeks. It all depends on your knowledge. The first step is to know what is the problem. Are you the problem, or is the camera the problem? The more you know, the less time you need to see when something is going wrong, or something could be better. And the less you know in photography, the more the risk of problem is due to you behind the camera. Don't get offended, but probably you are the problem more than the camera. Maybe you say, oh, this picture is out of focus. No, it's not out of focus, it's motion blurred, because you don't know how to make pictures yet. So you start changing some focusing problems when the problem is actually a motion blur due to you or to the subject or your decision, okay? So when you don't have much knowledge, it takes a lot more time to be able to decide whether it's a camera that needs some fine-tuning, or it's you that needs some better techniques, okay? That's normal. We all have been through this, okay? Second, there are several fine-tuning you can do. First is something is failing. Yeah, I miss this picture all the time because of this or that. You realize it's not your fault. what is the camera doing wrong? Is there any option, any feature I can modify so it doesn't fail? I make sure this catch a picture correctly. Okay, you work on that. There are some things that work fine, but they're not practical. Let's say you have to access the menu very often to change a few things. Maybe you could set a function button to have direct access. Shortcut, it's a lot faster for you. Maybe you go manual focusing and you would like to have the magnifying that appears or does not appear. You don't want to change it all the time in the menu, that sometimes you want it, sometimes you don't want it. Well, maybe you can put it on a dedicated button, for example, if your camera lets you do it, or many other things like this. It's just comfort, so it's easier, it's more to hand, it's easier, better to work with it, more practical. Okay, so then yes, you could fine-tune your camera this way. Then there are things you feel yeah, your camera is at hand, everything works fine, but it could work a bit better. Let's go back to the autofocus. You notice that sometimes is a small delay before when tracking a subject, something like this. Then start fine-tuning maybe how fast it tracks, the sensitivity, all this. Work on that bit by bit, but you know exactly where you're going, you know what you would expect, and you see if you can or not fine-tune that. But there are many things like this, okay, to fine-tune. There are other things that your camera is giving you some data that are wrong. I said before the highlights warning or shadow warning, but also histogram, they're normally wrong. Why? Because although you work in RAW file, what you see is actually a JPEG header, but all the calculations made by the camera are made on this header, not on the RAW file. So maybe the histogram says it's overexposed and actually it's not. Or it says the JPEG, you have some clipping warning and actually it's not clipped, okay? So you need to see the whole thing from the moment you take the picture to the moment you develop the RAW file, and then see if it matches. Here it says it's clipping, and I see my RAW file, it's not overexposed. So I should change my clipping warning, my highlight warning, so when it tells it's clipped, it is clipped. And something with shadows, all this, okay? So it's something to work on. I could make a separate video to explain this. I'm not going to explain all this in details in this video. Obviously, it would be too long, okay? That's something you can work on. Same thing, many people work in JPEG. They love to see the picture, the way it looks on the monitor. That's logical. But if you work in RAW file, that's not logical because it has nothing to do with the RAW file you will develop later. So it's better to have neutral colors, neutral everything, so it's as flat as possible. So you have more of the real idea of what you would get on your computer before working on the RAW file. Okay, so these are things you can change after a while when you know what you're doing, okay, but not from day one. Then now you're ready to listen to Mr. Danger. Okay, that can be me, that can be any YouTuber, any person that helps you on social networks. Listen to what he says, listen to his settings, but then just pick what you need to change. Don't change everything on your camera because he has everything different. That you have a problem, something you feel is not perfect. You listen to what he says or you read what he says and you feel, oh, this point I've got this problem. I'm going to test his solution. Don't change your S, just this. You don't need to change this and that or this. No, change what's wrong with your camera, not everything, okay? Then you can test it. But really important, if your camera lets you do it, make a backup of your settings. Sometimes they let you do on the SD card or memory card. Sometimes, most of the time now, it's on the app that you connect to the camera. Make a backup because although maybe this setting were not perfect, they are almost perfect. So maybe what you're testing now is going to be worse than what you already have. So make a backup so you can always come back to this setting that were almost perfect for you. And once you've done that, make a copy. Normally cameras have several profiles, C1, C2, C3, sometimes more, depends on what camera, okay? Well, copy the main profile to the second profile and then work on the second one. So you can test things, change things, and you still have this possibility to use quickly in a rush. The C1 profile, it is as it was almost working for you, okay? And you test on the C2 all this. Normally with time you have several profiles depending on the situation. I make sport photography. I've got it on C2 with a different autofocus or ISO, whatever, than if I work on C3. This is for my nighttime photography. Or on C4, this is when I make out of camera flash photography, whatever, okay? So you make different profiles so you don't have to change anything in your camera when you change the type of picture you're making, okay? But at the beginning, try to do this. Try on a backup, make a backup first, and then work on secondary profile, keeping a safe profile on the main profile, okay? That would be more logical, a lot more safe to make sure not to make a mess. So now you are ready to watch this dangerous YouTuber. I mean, getting included in these dangerous YouTubers, because now you understand what goes on with your camera, how you could fine-tune things, all this. So you can listen to what they offer, the idea they have about their settings. But really important, there are two kind of, I say YouTubers because I'm on YouTube, but there are people on social networks everywhere giving advice about settings, okay? So it's important. Some people, they tell you do this, this, this and that, but they don't explain why. It doesn't mean they don't know, but it means they don't communicate on it. So even myself, it would be really hard for me to know if this setting is good for me or not, because I don't know why it's changing it. So it's important you listen to people who explain why they want to change or why they change this or that. That's really important. And same thing, you can listen to me or to anyone. Don't take the full setting for you. Just pick the part you need. You have this situation, he has the same situation, he solves it this way, try it, okay? But the rest that works for you, even if his settings for that are different, don't touch it. What you have works, leave it as it is, okay? That's really the key to have your settings change in a successful way, okay? Otherwise, you may mess up more things than you fix, okay? And if you listen to me, for example, and you see I don't make the same type of picture as you make, maybe I do fashion photography and you do sport photography, well, search for someone who does sport photography, see his settings, I'll explain how he changes it and why, and pick his setting, not mine. And the other way around also, if you do fashion photography, listen to me, not to someone who does sport, for example, or portrait, or whatever, okay? So try to find someone that gives you his setting and has a similar situation of pictures as you have, okay? That's really important. So I hope this helped for you to have a way of setting your camera that works for you, but not on the first day. It takes time to be able to fine-tune a camera properly, okay? So thank you for watching the video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a small button down here and a small bell. If you click on the bell, get notified when you upload a new video. My website, Gibaud.com. If you have any question, you can leave a comment below. Also leave the links of my on Amazon, links of everything I reviewed by K&F Concept, Sandmarc Flashes by Westcott, more affiliated links, and also a link to my PayPal account in case you wanted to make a donation. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.